Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about the 4 agreements. This is a book that I first encountered years ago, and I try to revisit every once in a blue because I think these are really important concepts. And recently, a friend recommended it to me because we want to have a little accountability group. So I reread it, went back through it, figured what are my top takeaways from this book? How can you actually apply it to real life? And then I broke it down into this quick and dirty guide to the 4 agreements that I'm going to give you, as well as my spin on it and how I apply it and how it helps me in my day-to-day life. This book came out in 1997. It was written by Don Miguel Ruiz. So I'm going to dive into these 4 agreements, what I think about them, what I agree, what I don't agree with. If there are any that you particularly want to jump to in particular, you can check that out. I'll have everything timestamped up below. Let's jump into it. I think this is really interesting because when I knew I was going to make this video, I wanted to research these points. And after reading it, because these are based on age philosophy, sometimes it can be hard because some of it can be based on interpretation. So that can be a little bit different. And so to me, what I actually found impeccable, being impeccable with your word isn't necessarily keeping your word in necessarily a promise or something, but it's not being harmful to yourself or others with your word, which I think is super important. I think this is something that's really powerful in terms of that if you don't have something nice to say to people, like don't gossip about people, don't talk shit about people, as well as be kind to yourself. This one to me has been really pivotal as I grow older. I think about how my negative self-talk affects my day-to-day life. I also think about how would I say this same thing to a friend? If I'm performing badly, if I'm in the gym, if I'm boxing, if it's something musical, if it's creative, we can be really hard on ourselves. And I'll often hear myself in my head beating myself up. And I say, that's never something that I would say to a friend. So here's a little key, a quick tip for you. If you're doing something poorly, as soon as you have that self-talk in your mind, think about what type of advice would I give to a friend in this same situation? If you can talk to yourself like you can talk to a dear friend, I found that this has been hugely helpful in cultivating a better sense of positive self-talk for myself. I'm gonna hit you with agreement number 2 and 3 as a twofer. We're gonna do 2 for 1 because to me, these go hand in hand. I have a sprained wrist right now, so it's hard for me to do the motion, but y'all been hand in hand before. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Hand in hand, number 2 and number 3. Why are these so important? Because so a quick story about how 2 and 3 work together, taking things personally and assuming things. Right now, I'm learning how to write poetry. I'm also learning how to write short stories. Because I want to become a better poet, I'm currently reaching out to different poets that I really admire, asking them for mentorship. There's one poet in particular who I love her stuff, and I reached out to her. I said, hey, so-and-so, I'm looking for a mentor. Here's some of my work. This is really what I'd love. And she wrote back a little ways later and she said, hey, Kia, I'm too busy. No, totally fine. But here's the way that my brain played it. When she wrote me back and said that she couldn't help me, that she wasn't going to coach me, she said that she was busy, which if I'm not assuming, I can take at face value. But my brain didn't take that at face value. Instead, what I thought was, 1, she's a black poet. I'm a little white dude. I thought, did I say something that was offensive in the email? I said, was it something in the poems that maybe came off as racist or closed-minded? I said, maybe she doesn't want to work with white people right now. I said, maybe I wasn't cool enough for her to want to work with me. I thought maybe my work wasn't good enough. If my work was better, then she would have taken me on as a student. These are all the places that my brain wanted to go. And instead I said, no, Kia, these are all assumptions. You don't know any of those things for a fact. What you do know is she's not working with you and that she's busy. That's it. Take that. I'm not saying you have to take what everybody tells you at face value, but I am saying ask questions. This will come a little bit later in the video. The last example I want to give to you guys about this that I think is really important, I got from talking with my dear friend. I'm going to call her Elle. She knows who she is. Elle, if you're watching this video, I appreciate you more than you know. And we were talking about asking girls out at the bar, because I don't go to the bar. But if I was going out and I wanted to ask a girl out on a date, how can I do that in a way that's not creepy? I want to do this in a respectful way. Well, my friend Elle told me she said, Kia, you would be surprised how little it has to do with you. If a girl is going to say yes to you taking her out or to sleeping with you, it has almost nothing to do with you, which I thought was fascinating. I said, okay, so then what did I have to do with? It has to do with how recently she was in a relationship. My friend Elle told me maybe she's feeling cute that day. It's if she's had enough attention or if she wants attention. It's how she feels about maybe stuff going on with her parents if she's feeling rebellious. It's all these things that have zero to do with you. And to me, I think that is so powerful. When I ask a girl out, if I get accepted, if I get rejected, how often am I creating a story in my head? I wasn't cool enough, I wasn't cute enough, I didn't say the right thing, I'm not wearing the right clothes. It could be all number of things, all types of things. But what's so fascinating is how quickly we jump to conclusions and we take things personally, y'all. I have a little key I'm gonna break for you down here in a second, but before we get to that, I wanna jump into the last agreement. Agreement number 4 is always do your best, and this is the one of the 4 agreements that I could not agree with, which is strange because it's called the 4 agreements and I'm disagreeing, but this is why. Let me talk to you. I disagree with this because a lot of times people say how you do one thing is how you do everything. Always do your best. There are many times in my life when I have not done my best, and that was intentional because when I'm feeling rejuvenated, when I'm feeling like I want to do something, I want to go after, I agree, always do your best. But if I'm doing something I don't love, I'm going to be honest, I'm not doing my best. I think there is, as a creative, and again, this is where it's open for philosophical interpretation. I personally feel like if I'm not doing my calling is, if I'm doing a job just for the money, I'm going to give that whatever I need to in order to get paid in order to do that job. But I'm going to save my best for what I truly love, what I truly care about. I'm not always going to do my best if I'm just there pouring up drinks for people. I'm going to be half checked in, I'm going to be half checked out, writing a poem in my mind, coming up with beats, coming up with strategies, social media strategies while I'm on the job, making money, and then I'm going to apply that to something else in my real life. I rarely do my best, I'm going to be honest, because there are few things in this life that I truly give a fuck about. Family, health, my creative work, my friends. Those are the things, if I can, I'm gonna do my best for those 4 things. Other things in my life are going on the back burner. I'm gonna half-ass it, do what I have to do, just skate by in order to get my resources, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, so I can put those towards the things that I truly love. Okay, so this last part, before we wrap this whole thing up, I wanted to give you actionable takeaways. I love philosophy. I love talking about the importance of this spiritual, heady shit. But what's really important is, can you apply this to your real life? This is why I love Buddhism. This is why I love Stoicism, because you can take these concepts and apply these to your real life. How? I understand you're gonna ask me that. So here's how I personally recommend putting these to practice. Number 2 and number 3, don't take things personally, don't assume things. Next time you catch yourself doing that, and I promise you, you will, you'll find yourself doing these things. This works best if you can do this in pairs. Find some sort of a buddy, a friend that you are down to do this with. You say, hey, let's be accountability buddies for this. Whenever this happens, I'm gonna send you a quick voice note. It sounds silly at the top, but trust me, if you start to make this a thing, an accountability piece where when you have an assumption or you recognize you're taking things personally, if you can record it into a voice memo or as a text, there's something about that small action that solidifies it in your brain. And I swear to you, it makes it so much easier to check these things in the future. I think a lot of what these 4 principles comes down to, and what a lot of this philosophy boils down to, is how are you actually able to implement these things into your real life and make your day-to-day life better? And to me, I think that's personally where this comes into practice. How can I catch these small moments when I'm taking things personally and I actually don't need to? Send that in a voice memo to a friend. And then the last piece, the last gem for you on this piece of not assuming is ask more questions. If you feel like there's somebody that is slighting you, or somebody that doesn't want to hang out with you, or whatever it is, that story that you're creating in your mind, ask questions. I found for me, this happens a lot. If we're using the example from before, if I'm approaching a woman, if I'm talking to a girl or on a date or something, I like to ask explicitly, are you in love? Or do you have a boyfriend? Are you single? Something explicit, because otherwise a girl might be friendly, she might be smiling, you read certain signs, but it could be completely opposite than what the reality is. So I like to be very clear, very upfront. Here are the boundaries. This is what it is. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to do that. And if you do, I promise it'll help out. Let's get it. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, smash all the buttons, and I'll check you on the next one. Peace.